Fisher-Price has been known for quality in children's products. That same dedication to quality can now be found in the Fisher-Price Home Entertainment Library. The collection includes delightful children's entertainment, like Paddington's Birthday Bonanza, starring Paddington Bear, that silly bear who can't keep his snout out of trouble. Brown Bear's Wedding, the beautiful, funny, and romantic tale of Brown Bear's bumbling courtship, nominated for 5 Emmy Awards. And the Berenstain Bears Play Ball, and the Berenstain Bears and Cupid's Surprise, 2 great animated stories based on the best-selling children's books. Fabulous excursions, including a day at the zoo and a hot air balloon festival, all great live-action trips kids will want to watch again and again. Fun education, including Character Builders, a series designed to help develop positive character traits, using intriguing stories like Bouncer the Rabbit and Benny Bear. And I Love Dinosaurs, a new series introducing preschoolers to the fantastic world of dinosaurs. Magical Christmas tales filled with delightful stories for the whole family to enjoy. Stories like A Christmas Carol, the Oscar-winning adaptation of Dickens' Christmas classic, narrated by Michael Redgrave. And Barney's Christmas Surprise, with that starstruck sheepdog Barney in a special holiday story. Parenting Tips, featuring the acclaimed 3-part Touchpoints series with Dr. T. Barry Brazelton, the baby doctor for the 90s. The Fisher-Price Home Entertainment Library, at last, a children's home entertainment collection with the quality worthy of Fisher-Price.
Welcome to Touchpoints, the Brazelton study. For the past 2 years, we've filmed over 100 hours of the 12 families behind us to share with you my concept of Touchpoints. Touchpoints are times which precede a rapid burst in learning for both child and parent. Knowing approximately when to anticipate these periods is key to understanding your child and enjoying being a parent. They are Touchpoints because they're predictable and can help parents make decisions about how to handle their children. By watching our parents work through Touchpoints, you can gain insight and relief in understanding the universal challenges and joys of raising children. Almost all the issues that concern parents for the first few years of their baby's life begin in pregnancy. Let's go back to the beginning of our study and meet some of our families as they prepare for the birth of their child. Margaret and Marty Schumacher are a typical family, struggling to give up the intense love affair with their first child, Emma, while a new baby is on the way. They're worried about this new baby. Emma had a real problem with a dislocated hip at birth and spent her infancy in a cast. They're afraid this baby will have the same kind of problem. Their job now is to divide themselves in two around the new baby. Lara Ryan, young and determined, has chosen to become a single parent. Separated by choice from her home and family in Utah, she's going to do it all by herself. She supports herself by working at a daycare center and taking classes part-time. Laura has fought to have and keep this baby for herself. This makes the baby so precious that normal separations are likely to become an issue. Like the Schumachers, Eric and Martha Carson are making room for number 2. Eric, as all young interns, is just too busy. Martha knows that taking care of 2-year-old Lauren and a newborn is more than a full-time job, and he probably won't be there. She's going to need support, and she's not sure she's going to get it. John and Stella So, student and musician, are preparing for the birth of their first child, but it's far from what they expected. They're worried. Stella had to go to the hospital 6 weeks early because her water broke and her baby will be premature. Will their baby be okay? Suzanne and Paul Matthews are professional working parents. Their daughter Julia is an adopted Korean child. She is the focus of their limited family time. Now they're preparing for another adoption. Suzanne knows that working full-time and preparing Julia for a new adoptive sibling will be a challenge. Patricia and David, dancer and sculptor, older first-time parents, looking so confident. But they're going through a lot of turmoil, having lost 3 pregnancies before this. They're hesitant to become attached too soon this time. Each family has unique feelings and concerns about pregnancy and birth. Like all parents, they wonder, what kind of parent will I be? What will my baby be like? Will he be okay? What will my delivery be like? As a pediatrician, I can play a role in helping parents understand themselves better by learning to observe their reactions and eventually to learn to observe and understand their baby.
By increasing our family, it's going to divide it at least temporarily. That, yeah, one of us is going to have to look after kid 1 and the other after kid 2, instead of as a group, as we're doing right now.
So you're saying it's going to divide you two?
Probably. At
And
least
it's going to divide your attention to her. That each of you is going to have to divide yourself in 2.
Yeah, I mean, I get, for me, I think for both of us, a whole host of issues. I mean, what it does to our relationship with each other and with Emma. Yeah.
But you feel like one more is too much?
If you saw our house, you'd realize that we were going to be moving out before we had one, so it'll be very cozy.
I was concerned that I'd never be able to raise kids as well as my parents had. I was fortunate to just have had wonderful, wonderful folks, and we grew up in an environment that was tremendously supportive. And we're not living in that kind of environment now, and I can't provide that kind of stability and those beautiful things, I think, as well as I'd like to.
For adoptive parents, the issue of what kind of parent will I be is the same as natural parents, but preparing for it is different.
Going through the adoption process is that it's kind of a funny situation that you think about it, but you really think about it more in the abstract, and I don't know if it's a self-defense mechanism that,
Maybe.
you know,
I think it must be.
Right, and even, you know, when we were waiting for Julia, it was the same thing. You talk about it, and everyone talks about what you think, but you can't get yourself to really focus on it until the baby gets there. You know, I think that there was some apprehension when Julia was coming, what it was going to be like and how things were going to go, and I think we were so shocked that it went so smoothly, and it just seemed like a family unit immediately when she came, that I guess I've been thinking the next one will go as smoothly, forgetting that a 2-year-old may not be able to adapt as quickly as we can.
Suzanne's real concern is, will I have enough to give to 2 children?
I don't really see myself in the same active role that my father took in raising kids. Like when my older brother was born, supposedly he stayed up 3 days straight and just watched him.
He's trying to separate himself from his father and become a different kind of father. Every parent wants to be different from their parents, and they know they aren't going to be. This time around, they know they can parent. Carsons are more concerned now with helping Lauren with her adjustment.
Every now and then.
I'm at home with her now, and she's the center of all of my attention. And we're trying to ease her into it. We tell her about the baby, and she's noticed things. She used to spend a lot of time, you know, sitting on my lap and hugging, and sometimes I have to tell her, you know, Mommy can't hold you right now. So I think she knows something is going on. As we get closer and closer, it's starting to get very scary now.
Yeah. It will make it less scary if she handles Lauren's issues ahead of time.
A lot of people wanted her to give the baby up. There were a lot of strong advocates for that, especially in her church and things. Knowing Laura the way I know her and the way Dan knows her, we knew that that was not an option for
Really?
Laura.
You knew that from the first?
Yeah.
And you knew it, Laura?
Oh, yeah.
Laura's friend Anne is a strong support and will stand by through the delivery. She knows how hard Laura had to fight to keep this baby.
You know, I had friends who worked through high school, but I didn't. My parents just took care of me. But now it's me, and I need to. And I need to take care of someone else instead of having my parents take care of both of us.
So you want to become a mummy,
Right.
not a baby?
Yeah, I want to be the responsible one.
Every parent is concerned, will I be the perfect parent? At this stage, they don't realize how much the baby's personality will help them become the parents they want to be. Every mother and every father I've ever met has 3 babies in their mind in pregnancy. The perfect baby and the damaged baby, or the impaired baby, which dredges up ghosts from their own nursery, and the real baby. So if I know each of those 3 babies, then I can help you when the new baby comes to make it into the real baby.
I see the baby as kind of a bundle. Because that's all I know about babies.
I keep thinking he's going to look just like John.
Patricia. I hope.
With glasses?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to imagine a bearded kid, you know.
Mostly I picture like dressing him up in like different outfits that he'll wear and different like little blue and white striped things and, you know.
Another Emma.
I'd love to have another.
Well, that's the perfect baby. What is the imperfect one?
This one is won't sleep through the night.
We'll have some disability of some sort.
Some defect?
Yeah. I have a brother with CP.
His brother has cerebral palsy. Of course he's worried about more than just dislocated hips.
Disability.
Having lost some babies and been unsuccessful prior to this one, that we'd be safer having it be an it instead of a he or a she. So that if there were a problem, or I guess because the losses had hurt us so much, I was being protective and didn't really want to
As if you were
do it too
protecting
soon.
yourself from getting too close.
Yeah.
Think
And I
you feel
realized
safe?
I really don't think of what an imperfect baby is.
You don't let yourself? Because everybody today knows that the intrauterine experience, you know, drugs, alcohol, things like that are bound to affect the baby.
Sure.
This doesn't occur to you?
Oh, no, I think it does occur to us, and we have discussed it, because it's a very real concern when you're adopting, just like if you're having
Sure.
it's even more of a concern because
I
you don't
think
have any control
You don't
over
have
it.
any control.
But it's something we've talked about, and I think we just realize that that's, you know, a chance that we have to take.
And I think it's a process that we went through several years ago, you know, when we made the decision
To
go
adopt.
through with adoption.
To adopt.
So it's been in your mind.
Oh,
Sure.
you're right.
Yeah, it
Wait.
was in our mind the first time.
She had traveled over the holiday, and we were wondering if that might have done something. I know our doctor wasn't exactly keen on the idea that she traveled.
Of you traveling.
You know, we went to Dallas and then shortly after to LA.
You know, John, I think when something like this happens, you always blame yourself. You go back and back and back and think of one thing after another, wondering, what did I do wrong? But I think you'll just have to be aware that you're bound to blame yourself over and over for things that do matter and things that didn't matter. Laura, do you dream about a baby that might not be healthy?
I don't let myself I mean, because that's very scary to me.
The purpose of dreaming about a perfect baby and an imperfect baby is to give parents the energy to face whatever baby they get. And then one that isn't. What about the real baby that you've got? What do you know about? Is it a boy or a girl?
We don't know.
It's a kicker. It's a night baby.
Yeah. What?
A kickboxer.
A real kicker, which makes me think, of course, it's a boy.
But there's more on their minds than that. I think there may be two other reasons why you like the kicking too. One is that you want to separate it from her. Another is that you really want those legs okay this time.
That's true. Oh, that's funny.
And the third may be that being a kicker gives you something to focus on. That gives you a sort of reality to this baby that takes it out of this, either the dreamy baby or the imperfect baby, and puts it into reality.
Yeah.
Margaret's awareness of her baby's behavior makes this a touch point.
You know, Stella's mother tells her that if the baby's active in the uterus, that it'll be active outside too, and it makes sense. But is that true in general?
They're worried about their baby being premature. Activity is terribly important, but that isn't his real question. His real question is, will my baby be okay? Stella, you asked about what kind of behavior a premature baby might have. And they can be either slightly sleepy or wide awake. Of course they're worried about a premature baby. My best role is to help them understand what a premature baby may be like, and to assure them that we now know how to take care of babies born as early as the 7th or 8th month.
I've been a little sicker this time.
Sick at your stomach?
Right, and the weight has been up and down. I had lost about 5 pounds in the middle of my second trimester, so I was concerned about the weight gaining. When I first went to the obstetrician and told him about this, and he told me, oh, you're losing some weight, let's take an ultrasound and make sure the baby's okay, I started to cringe, and in fact I kind of broke down a little bit there, because all these things are going through my mind, and were there going to be any problems with the baby?
Martha's concerns are universal. Every parent wonders, will I have an impaired baby? Ultrasound has provided parents a whole new opportunity to not only rule out problems with the fetus, but also to identify with that baby as a real person.
I think it's a girl. I've been talking to her, and I've talked to Lauren. She thinks it's a girl too.
What kind?
I don't know. I've selected names, and I was going to name her after my mother and my aunt, so I guess I kind of want her to be a combination of them.
Eric, I want to know how you feel about this baby being like your mother-in-law.
I will be there, like I was for the first one, and more or less like the cheerleader in the background.
Yeah.
Eric is trying to protect her from the kind of fears he knows she has. What parents really worry about is, will I make it? Will I hurt my baby in the process? These worries are generating energy which I call an alarm reaction. This energy gets them ready to meet the urgency of labor, delivery, and the new baby, no matter what that baby is like.
Happy birthday, Mom!
Martha has risen to the occasion of having the baby given to her, but she shows us how exhausted she is from the delivery. She needs to be nurtured herself before she has to turn to the new baby.
Is that Cece?
Look at her fingers.
Who say Cece?
See how tiny it is? Want to put your hand up so she can hold your finger? Okay.
What do you think of baby Cece?
Oh, give Mommy a big hug.
Thank you, honey.
The agency will call you when a baby has actually been born, and they're looking for a home, and you have to pick up the baby within a few days. Or in some situations, like the recent one that we're sort of on the waiting stage with, is that you will get paired up with a birth mother in the 7th or 8th month of her pregnancy. And the mother will pick the prospective parents. And so at that point, you were matched up with that person, but it's always a possibility that the mother may change her mind.
At the last
Yeah,
minute.
at the last minute.
After the birth or whatever.
And so in those cases, that you may get 1 or 2 months notice.
You mean may change her mind about you, or may change her mind about giving the baby up at all?
Giving the baby.
Giving the baby up at all. So you really are on pins and needles,
Right.
even under those circumstances.
I think I like it better without that notice. I think I like it better after the mother's already decided.
Well, we're gonna go get your sister.
We got a call on a Friday night saying this baby, she had been born, and asking if we were interested to pick her up on Monday.
Adoptive parents go through a different kind of delivery. They must trigger their own set of alarm reactions in order to prepare for whatever baby they get and to have the energy to bond with their new baby. Not having the baby in the uterus feels like a missed opportunity for the preparation they need.
It's been sort of an emotionally difficult, 9 months, and it'll be good to have the baby here, sort of like all of this has been worth it. It's been, all of the things I've had to go through and things I've had to do alone, that they've been worth it. They've been for a baby.
Look at the relief in Laura's face at having made it through the delivery and having a real baby to hang on to. Now, at last, Laura has a chance to meet Sarah as a real baby. Every bit of her behavior becomes significant as they try to make it to each other. Look at what her turning to Laura's voice means. And now watch Sarah as she follows my voice and face. She shows how human she is. All of this behavior is significant in helping Laura reach out. Watch. Sarah turns to Laura and almost reaches for her herself. Laura couldn't resist if she tried. They're making it to each other. The Sows had their baby 4 weeks early, and he's okay. What a relief to see how confident and vigorous he is as he adjusts to his new world. He's ready to make it, and the Sows are off to a good start. After 3 miscarriages and 9 months of waiting, David and Patricia have their baby, Laura. At last, they're a family. You had a different kind of delivery this time.
Absolutely.
No cesarean section.
No.
So I'm just very proud, and it's just this welling up of feeling of love for Margaret, and kind of, triumphant's not a bad word.
Now let's look at some of the behaviors of the newborn. Sharing the baby's behavior with new parents becomes a touch point in helping them understand the personality of their baby. The newborn is equipped with so many ways of telling you what kind of person she is. It helps parents understand their babies if they can see how marvelously complex they are. For example, a newborn can protect herself by sleeping through a noisy environment by a process called habituation. By having the ability to habituate, a baby has the ability to make choices. She can shut out the things she doesn't want to hear, and she can pay attention to the ones she does want to hear. This process of habituation is necessary to protect herself from taking in too much stimulation and getting overloaded. Look at how much it takes for her to shut out the disturbing reactions caused by my rattle. She tries to cover her face, and finally she stops responding. At last, she has her world under control. I think she managed to shut it out. You could see her just work to do it, and she almost tried to cover her eyes, I thought, at one point, as if she was trying to get rid of us completely. By contrast, Cece Carson looks like she's asleep, but she's really in a light sleep, and the repeated rattle is waking her up. She gets more and more active with each rattle, and finally, she comes to an awake state. In order to understand each baby's individuality, a parent needs to understand how she handles her states of consciousness. Deep and light sleep are two states, but there are others. Rousing from sleep, she can go in several directions. Wide awake alertness to a fussy alert state, or to crying, as if to shut everything out or to demand real attention. Her movements show you that she's waking rather than going down into sleep. Now the question for a parent is, what do I do about this? Do I let her wake up by herself? Do I pick her up? Do I feed her? Or do I want to play with her? This is where a parent has to make a decision. Look at her jittery, jumpy behavior and how she thrusts her leg. All of that goes with an upset state. And now I want to find out what it'll take to quiet her down. There are many ways to try to calm a fussy baby. Even the newborn gives you cues that will help you know what works. Well, Molly, suppose I talk to you. Would that help you quiet down, or does that make you angry, or does that make you angry, or you don't really like that, do you, so much? No, I don't think so. Yeah. For this baby, I tried talking to her, but it doesn't help her enough. I then hold her hands, and it helps more. But she's not able to stay quiet. I feel frustrated. So I'll dress her and pick her up. I'll cuddle her. When I do, she calms down. I found I could quiet her in other ways besides feeding her. Now let's look at another kind of baby, a more intense baby that gets upset, and you have to do something quickly. Is this the kind of fussing she does when you undress her?
I tried to really go fast.
Watch Cece get more upset as we handle her. You can see that nothing will calm her down for long, except maybe to feed her.
Sucking on my fingers.
Sucking on her fist will calm her for a minute or two, but she obviously wants to be fed. There are many ways to quiet a baby down besides feeding, and parents need to learn them all. But they also need to learn when to go ahead and feed. And we put her down on her belly. Sometimes putting a baby on her stomach helps stop the disturbing, startling movements of her limbs, and she'll then be able to get her hand to her mouth to keep herself calm. Put your hand up to your mouth. Come on, you can do it. That's a girl. That's the way. That's the way. But in this more intense baby, I know subtle calming techniques just won't work. I'll have to try swaddling, wrapping him tightly in a blanket so he can't continue to startle and upset himself. It still doesn't help. So I'll pick him up, try to give him his fingers to suck on. When that doesn't work, maybe a pacifier will. If not, it's time to feed him. And that gives me a look at the skin. Let's look at some of the newborn reflexes that point to the intactness of the baby's nervous system.
Come on,
They underlie all of the baby's behaviors.
grab them.
Watch this baby participate as I pull her up to sit. She grasps my fingers with her hands, and she uses the muscles in her arms, shoulders, and back to keep her head in an upright position. Now, I want to see if he'll walk for us. There he goes. The walk reflex is present at birth, then it goes underground and comes back as a voluntary behavior a year later. Isn't that beautiful? The gallant reflex is a set of swimming reflexes which helps babies to squirm their way out of the uterus at delivery. The gallant reflex, when you stroke along their spine, they flip away. Watch how hard this baby works to follow my voice and face. Interactive behaviors say to a parent, not only can I see and hear, but I can see you and hear you. She also turns to follow the red ball, but she's about to fall apart. By contrast, this baby is in a more stable, alert state. A new baby in an alert state can even imitate my tongue thrust. They seem to know so much already. See you?
Yeah.
As you can see, all of these babies have worked hard to capture stimuli from the outside world. Sight, sounds, touch. As new parents, you will have a chance to learn about your baby's temperament as you feed, diaper, or put him to sleep. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to learn more. But be patient. Learning to understand your baby's responses and needs will take time. It will all be worthwhile. Everybody feels relieved right after having a new baby, but then they're likely to feel disorganized, often referred to as postpartum blues. This is part of the physiological and psychological process of recovery. Now they need to reorganize in order to get on with the job of parenting. This is the beginning of the work of attachment. You know, I felt this out right after the baby came, too, when everybody wanted you to hold the baby, that it was almost as if you needed time for yourself.
Yeah, I guess...
To pull yourself together, and nobody was paying any attention to you. They were all paying attention to the baby.
Yeah, well, I guess with this pregnancy, I had a little bit more difficulty. Okay.
I felt, you know, that you were trying to live up to what everybody wanted of you, but you weren't quite sure what that was. And when they handed you the baby and told you to essentially bond with her, you would have liked to have said, let me alone. Give me a few minutes to myself. Was that a feeling you had?
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. I mean, I wanted to hold her right afterwards.
Yeah.
But I just...
For yourself or for them?
No, for me.
For you.
But I didn't really feel that I was able to. I was just so tired and just crampy and achy and just exhausted that I wanted to hold her. But I really, like you said, I guess I did need to just step back for a moment and take a few minutes for myself.
Well, Martha, you said this time you felt depressed and felt like you had baby blues.
Yeah, and that was new for me because with Lauren, I was just all in the afterglow of pregnancy and just, you know, falling in love and all that. And with Cece, I would just cry for no reason. So, I don't know, I just sit down and cry sometimes. But it's gotten better as I got my strength back.
Well, Martha, I think what you're going through, and pretty much all alone with Eric away all the time, is really remarkable. You know, you're really having to fill up at least 2 other people.
That's right.
And really take care of yourself in the process at a time when you're physically exhausted and trying to get back your energy. So it's bound to be a time of postpartum blues, and I think you're handling it awfully well. Everybody seems in good shape. Are you depressed?
I don't think so.
You don't feel like weeping or
No,
crying?
nothing like that. I was just too excited in the beginning to even feel tired.
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple of days later, after being settled at home, I started feeling really run down.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to sleep a lot more. But as far as feeling depressed or anything like that,
You don't?
I've not noticed anything really.
yeah.
And you know, everybody who's high around the time of the baby's birth then hits bottom afterwards, so you're bound to go through something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a physiological recovery as much as a psychological recovery. It's both of them. So I would expect that.
It's a lot easier than I imagined. I thought there would be a lot more things that I have to do for him. But basically...
Such as what?
Such as like tending to his needs.
Don't know. It just seems that people tend to
They keep
try
telling
to
us.
scare you about when you're going to have a baby and that you're going to be running around constantly. Maybe it's just now that it's easy. Do you think it'll get worse later on?
That's what I keep
Maybe.
waiting for.
When he's an adolescent, it will.
I suppose it
Now, what about her father's relationship with her? How's that
David,
going?
he's doing great now. He's doing great now. First couple of weeks it was hard because he was real.
Yeah, I think it's a little warm.
He was scared.
Or did
And
he?
then as bit by bit as she started to look at him more, and also when he saw some other people, we have other friends with newborn babies, and he realized how different she was, that yes, indeed, she does have a personality.
Have you been working on figuring out her cues?
Well, I have to confess, I don't think I have been on a conscious basis, but it's pretty hard not to.
Uh-huh.
I think that it's built into the adult, the parent, to just kind of be eager. Hey, look at that. There's a happy cue. Yeah, I see you smiling.
Now your baby's arrived. You're home, and you've been through the first weeks. One of the next big challenges in parenting is how to handle a fussy baby. This is a real touch point. If I can help parents understand the different cries of the baby and their fussy period that occurs at the end of the day, I can help most parents prevent colic before it becomes a problem. Babies have 6 different cries: pain, hunger, discomfort, fatigue, boredom, and release of tension, or fussy crying. This last cry, which some people call colic, occurs in most babies from 3 weeks to 3 months and is predictable and normal. It seems to me to be due to an immature nervous system that gets overloaded throughout the day and has to discharge at the end of the day. You do need to be sure with your baby's physician that this irritable crying does not represent anything more serious. I know, often nothing seems to work. The anxiety it creates in parents can make them do too much. Then these sensitive babies can become a problem.
I know, but you've been talking now. You don't have to just fuss at me.
Most of you will have questions about fussing. Each baby is a new and different experience.
I know it over here.
I can tell when she's hungry. She has, it's not as desperate a cry, just kind of a low, steady, Mom, let's go, let's feed me. But the one that's most distinct is when I'm changing her. She likes to be held closely and wrapped, and if I don't change her quickly enough, she gets rather angry, and that's more of an intense cry.
I think it's interesting that you know her signals so well that you're sure of when she says, Mom, I'm hungry, let's go. And then you're sure that she hates being undressed, and you go by this sort of startling behavior that she shows
Right,
you.
those are the 2 most distinct ones. Right.
And there'd be another one, maybe letting off steam is what I call this one, like that at the end of the day. Boredom is another one.
Okay,
You know,
I
just
haven't picked that one up yet.
Well, that comes a little later, I think. And there are about 6 of them that they show you. Feeding is an early issue for John and Stella So. Philip, born prematurely, is doing fine now, but Stella is concerned because he wants to nurse all the time. Now you're nursing him how often?
Sometimes every 1 to 1.5 hours.
Isn't that pretty hard on you?
It's just I'm not able to do anything during the day, which is when he feeds.
Are you
me.
pretty exhausted?
Yeah, I was really exhausted.
Do you think you have milk?
Sometimes it feels like I don't have any milk, or very little.
They're ready to learn because this isn't working. I would try to cycle him now at least 2 hours, preferably 3. And then your breast will fill up more and you'll have more milk to give him. Cycling is learning to wait and learn from the baby's cues. when to feed or put to sleep, as well as learning when to change, when to carry, and a wide range of other responses.
Because I worry that he doesn't get enough milk, and it comforts me to think that, he gets hungry and then I feed him, really.
I know.
So.
Well, it might be better for him to hold off a little bit and see if he couldn't learn to cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It may not work, and then I'd certainly put him to breast. Like her husband David, Patricia is also learning.
My mom always said that if you stopped and just took a minute, like a timeout period, and relaxed for a second, you would be able to deal with it, and that it would make sense to you what was going to come up. But that if you panicked and tried to do too much, a fussy period or something like that, you wouldn't resolve anything. And her philosophy was, if you took a minute, took a timeout, stopped and took a breath, you could handle anything. You could go through the fuss period. Something would tell you not to panic, because you'd have a clear thought of it. If you didn't give yourself that little bit of time to take a deep breath, you could panic over a lot of things that weren't important or weren't...
Now, let me ask you this. I wonder if what she was telling you didn't result in your watching the baby and picking up cues from the baby. And
Probably.
So stopping for a minute and looking at the baby gives you a chance to see what's going on in the baby rather than just responding to your own panic.
Right, because when she cries, I get nervous. I can't respond to me being nervous. I have to respond to her crying. And that's why sometimes it's let her cry for 2 seconds and you take a breath.
Patricia is right. It's good to step back for a minute and take a break from the crying. But Stella, the last time I saw you all, we talked about how, since he was a preemie, he really needed to learn to wait a little bit between feedings, because you were feeding him every hour last time. What happened?
Well, he fussed for a little while, but not very long.
What?
About 5 minutes.
Really?
It worked fine. He started sucking on his fist, or we gave him the pacifier. He managed to calm himself down. And then 3 hours later, I'd feed him, and it worked great.
Does he have a fuss period?
Yes. From about 8 o'clock at night until about midnight, when he goes finally to sleep, he gets really fussy, and there's nothing that can calm him down, really. We're sort of at a loss as to what to do with him.
Do you try feeding him?
Yeah, we try feeding him, and he doesn't really, it's not like he's feeding. He's just,
He doesn't really
using me
want
as a
feeding.
pacifier.
And sucking on his thumb or his pacifier doesn't help?
No, not really.
Have you found anything that helps?
I pick him up and sort of jog around.
Yeah.
When I have motion, or I turn on lights and bring him under it and such, he looks up and looks around and calms down.
I think what you're doing is just what I'd expect, that you try everything you can think of. And if it works, fine for a little while. If it doesn't, I think the main thing is not to do too much.
It still just stresses me when I hear him crying, whether it's because he's fussy or because he's in pain or just bothered about something. But I'm learning to differentiate and learning to cope with when he's getting fussy. Just let him have it out.
This is a typical situation for an average baby. The Sows have come a long way. They've learned that when the baby fusses, to hold back, read the baby's language, and do what's best for the baby and themselves.
She's just a very definite little personality. She'll sit in her chair when she's perfectly happy and just go, wow.
Well, you call it wildcat. Is it a communicative sound, or is it one that you think she's trying to say, I've had enough? For Margaret and Marty, this baby is another kind of challenge. She's an intense baby. You can see it on her face and in her bodily movements. It's hard to figure out what to do to quiet her. Maybe nothing will work. Just telling them not to worry isn't enough. They need to understand that it's the baby and not them. Is she clear about her signals?
Pretty clear.
You know what she's trying to tell you.
And we're reading them perhaps better than before.
Right.
So, yeah.
While every baby is different, a new parent's role is to learn about your baby. You try out different techniques. You learn from them when they work and when they don't work. You learn by trial and error. Her fussing may not stop from any of your maneuvers. Then the danger is in doing too much. At such a time, create a soothing routine for yourself. Let her fuss for 5 or 10 minutes. Then pick her up to be comforted. then fuss for 10 minutes more to be picked up and comforted. This way she can let off steam. But your routine must be soothing. Remember, you can overload her with anxious attention, and you end up prolonging the crying rather than shortening it.
Molly has been a little difficult, and so I've spent much
You
more
keep
time.
minimizing how difficult she's been.
Yeah, she's been
Because
difficult.
yeah, she has been, but a lot of it's past tense. She
Yes.
seems easier now. She's sleeping better. She's maybe we're more comfortable with it.
She
but it just
smiles, she
doesn't seem
laughs.
to be the trial.
Was that a relief when
Oh.
she started laughing and
Oh,
smiling?
yeah. This
And so
doesn't
the
make it
baby
easy.
is really leading you back into accepting her, isn't she? She started out making it tough for you, and now she's sort of leading you back with all of her human interactions.
Right.
So maybe it's the dawn of a whole new level.
Yeah. No, I think that's kind of true. And then this really is a family, and that's a wonderful feeling. And it's it's working day by day.
Everyone feels triumphant when they make it through this period. It's fascinating, isn't it? How much you learn, and how much she learns.
And we've only just begun.
A long way to go, haven't you? We've looked at many different babies, and we've seen their parents as they try to understand them. Crying and fussing leads parents to search for answers. Look at the energy it takes these parents to make it through this fussy, crying period. You try all the things you know, and nothing seems to help. Finally, at 3 months, the crying subsides, and you have a wonderful feeling of, I know my baby and she knows me. This new level of communication is a touch point. If the crying gets worse, or if you have special concerns, you need to call your baby's doctor or nurse. After this period is over, these babies become so exciting.
Cheerios, the proud sponsor of Touchpoints, the Brazilian study.